Reshma Shah, for more than a decade, has been designing, and she has taught workshops as well as mentoring one-on-one in person as well as online to a diverse variety of long-term soul family students who journeyed together through many dimensions and densities. Okay, this is a neat paragraph. The old programming and limited linear, materialistic, and deterministic controlled organic or inorganic models have only focused on a minuscule fraction of existence in its attempts to solve every concern of our emotional and physical challenges. The time has come for us to be in awareness of the vastness, to release conformity, and to celebrate true, authentic freedom of our soul. Rishma's mission is to assist in opening and clearing paths for those souls who are ready to reach out for their highest potentials, possibilities. Oh, I'm going to read this slowly and just feel it in their own North Stars. Lovingly, she walks along and guides parents, children, youth, and she did a session with my 22-year-old as well, and couples to reach out and recognize their own inner knowings of infinite possibilities, supporting them to return to the true knowing of who they are. I tried to read that with passion and heart. Yeah, how'd I do?
Very good. And there was a very beautiful quote inside which you spoke about that was
Yes,
given to me by my friend also. So I'm glad that every energy is working and compiling together. So that's beautiful. Thank you.
you're welcome. All right, the first question I want to ask you, and this may lead into a whole bunch more, was how did you start to see the great evolution that is happening on Mother Earth and star seeds and all of that?
I would say I experienced that since very young age
Okay.
because I was feeling a lot of changes in physical body every time there would be a vibrational discord going on Earth, and I could not understand that. And since childhood, I used to speak with a lot of energies, which I could not understand that either. And my mom used to say, "Oh, she has her own moments. Like you have to give her space away."
So
And
where did you grow up?
I grew up in India, in
Okay,
Mumbai.
that's where you're originally from.
Yeah, I'm originally from Mumbai, but I left at a very young age and then lived in almost 5 to 7 different countries for a lot
Oh,
of different times. And then eventually we came to United States, and that's where a lot of things shifted because my son was born here.
okay. How old were you when you moved to the States?
Uh, my son is 23, so
Okay.
you figure, yeah.
I just have to ask this question. When you moved here, not knowing where else you had lived, was it a little bit of a culture shock, or had you lived in other places in
No,
Europe, for example, that it
no.
was just like, okay,
Yeah, it was actually very comfortable because
okay,
I didn't fit into my culture back home. And that's why I was always a black sheep because I
wow.
didn't fit into that culture. However, after working with star seeds for so many years, you understand that we all are always planted in the places where we are required.
Yeah.
So now we understand why we are born at a place or where we lived most of our lives, at a place where I'm loud enough. Yeah. And that's how things shifted.
So, how, with you seeing things and feeling things when you were younger, you always had a knowing, yet when was your clarity, if I'm saying that? Hopefully that makes sense. When did you come to see, oh my gosh, things are different. Oh, I've been feeling this way for so long. Now I really understand it.
That was as soon as my son was born.
Okay.
Yeah, around 23 years ago.
Hmm.
When I used to take walks, of course, like every pregnant woman would take walk with their babies and start talking to their child. And I used to talk to my baby all the time. And those times I used to see so many um, formations and rainbows. And the moment I would talk some things, there would be some climatic changes. There would be some kind of an affirmation from the surrounding of wherever I am. birds would start coming to me, or rainbows would start coming to me, even when I'm walking by the city. And uh, yeah, that's when I felt that something is going on.
Okay, so then what happened? How did you develop further into this?
Since birth, I was always very intuitive, but I
Mm-hmm.
could not verbalize what I was feeling. I was
Mm-hmm.
not very vocal about my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Very strong introvert, because every time if I would say something, people would not really understand. So that made me retain my information inside. When my son was born, somehow we both started telepathically communicate from the womb. And that shifted everything. And I said, okay, there has to be some kind of something going on which I'm not aware about. Always believed in higher powers because of the energies coming in and out and interacting with them. But one to one was my first connection due to my pregnancy when my son was born. And then he was hardly, say, 6 or 7 months old. And if I would take him out in a stroller and if I would go to a store to buy something, he would put his hand or fingers towards the direction of what I have on the list. So that was kind of like, oh, what is going on? First, I thought it's a child. It's just almost a year and a half at the most. Till then, I noticed because he learned to climb before he learned to walk. So
Whoa,
that,
wait a minute.
yeah,
As a parent, what? I
I
mean, you
was
had
like,
to be like, oh my gosh.
yeah, I was like, something is wrong with my parenting.
Oh my gosh, I've been there. Okay.
Yeah. I thought something is wrong with my parenting. And I'm like, I must find out what's going on. But time flies when you're raising a child and you don't focus on those things. And finally, a year and a half or so, instead of saying mom, the first word he said, moon. And
Oh.
I said, okay, there is something here which I'm not getting. And by then he was, of course, crawling and walking, and he would start going and touching in the store, as I said, instead of just pointing or leaning towards like a baby.
So before you would even
Yeah,
go to something on your list, he would already be there.
he would already be there. And he was a very quiet child too, but extremely happy, thank God. And he would always connect with people, and people would always respond to him. And I'm like, unusual. And that's when I started noticing there is something going on between him and I. And that's where the Starseed journey started.
Okay, so people would respond favorably.
Favorably, always, as a baby, right? A little child. And they would be really kind and we would be playful. There would be times when people would be annoyed, but not because of anything the child does, but because of their projection. And I know how to ignore that. It doesn't matter to me. And I remember once when we went to Quest Diagnostic, and I was very concerned that he was not comfortable. Like he, for just a regular check, something doctor said, just go get something checked up.
Mm-hmm.
And once we went there, and he was like, he kept crying and crying, and he was never a cry baby. Eventually, we just came out without anything. I said, I'm not doing it. So his soul already knew that this is big pharma nonsense. So we are not indulging in that. So we didn't
Wow.
go that route ever again. So things like that, like small spurts in the day through his growth, everything his soul was so advanced, he would always tell me what's going on. And I said, okay, now somebody is in sync with me. Thank God it's my child. And that's how the journey started.
Wow. So he was essentially your teacher or your
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, a very strong anchor because he was homeschooled, being a profoundly gifted son. And because of that, we met a lot of homeschool students. So that's how we started working together. And that's how I understood that most of the homeschool mothers are very intuitive. And the reason why I say is that every mother knows the best what is right for their children, right? Nobody, I feel that the mother knows the best. And that's how I work with them, bridging them also, that the mother knows the best. However, we can just be there as a conduit, as an extra set of eyes to see it from outside, to know that if we could be of any support or any kind of guidance. So when we were going through the homeschool years, first it was to get them tested to see they do not fit in the right school, mainstream school system.
Yes.
And then you start wondering, like, oh my God, is there anything wrong with it? And you say, no, that's because the child is profoundly gifted. So then you start catering to them, because even profoundly gifted, special aid children, any of these, right? The labels what the society has given them, they are not necessarily academically advanced or slow or diverse, but they are specifically thinking outside the box because they are hardwired. They are hardwired differently. They are not, their brains do not necessarily mean they study 2 years ahead of the rest of the class. No, but they learn differently. Their learning patterns are different. Their communication styles are different. And when people do not have, because it's an overstimulated society we live in,
Oh, yeah.
right? So when people do not have the so-called quote unquote time or understanding of how things are, then they start labeling them with ADD, ADHD. And I have always said to everybody that, in my opinion, they are just the jumbled up alphabets. They are not really labeled suitable for that child, because a 4-year-old is going to dangle feet and play, because his innate nature is to play. You cannot label the child as having any kind of deformation of thought pattern. No, you let the child play, he would not come and dangle his feet in the chair. Simple as that, right? So that's where the entire understanding of working with Starseed started, because we all are Starseed. You're a Starseed. I'm a Starseed. Our children are Starseeds, because apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Okay. And the way how they have been conditioned is, that's one of the reasons why my son was homeschooled in the most of his younger age. And then high school, he decided to go to the mainstream. That's another story. And
oh, wow.
yeah, he said, I want to experience the mainstream school system before I go to college.
Okay.
So that was respectfully accepted between both of us, saying, okay, let's work it out. However, I did notice that children who were young adults who I work with, who have been homeschooled, they are different, not necessarily antisocial and the rest of the labels given to the homeschool children, of course, but they are different because their thought patterns are different. They've been raised differently. Not necessarily they've been rushed every morning and evening out in and out of the house because the school bus, or have to go on time. Because sleep is a bigger conduit of growth for any brain and body. Nurtured and nourishing food is the bigger conduit for any, right?
Oh, yeah.
So these kind of things gravitated us towards understand more about how star seeds operate, because everybody is from different. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Can you give your definition of a star seed?
For me, particularly, star seed means somebody, we all are from different planetary positions, but we all come with different kind of soul purpose. And for me, star seeds means someone who is designated for certain roles, which is not only from this earth. In a nutshell, rather than giving you the entire class of what is a star seed, right? So in a nutshell, I feel star seeds are gifted beings. Everybody is gifted. Every child is gifted because every child brings something special to this planet. These specific conduits know their purpose more deeply, and they are tailor-made by the divine, by the source, so that they can proceed in such a way that they can bring their gifts to uplift the rest of the community, humanity, their family, their environment, for Earth.
Okay, let me ask you this question too. There are several star seeds that I work with as well who are huge amounts of depression, anxiety, and of course, I also believe that the powers that be, the not so great powers that be, want them to really feel disconnected and feel so getting helping them get through all of this so they can find their soul and their purpose and why they are here, knowing video games and pornography and social media, like all of that is just, I mean, it's just dished out and thrown on them essentially. So I think homeschooling, like it, again, I didn't know about all of this when my kids were younger. I would have changed so much about what I did. And I remember, I'm just going to talk for a second, going into the schools and also noticing what they were serving them for lunch. And I was like, it's processed sugar. And no wonder you have ADHD problems. So my kids, like I tried to change things, nothing ever seemed to work. So I'm like, okay, well, they're just going to bring their own lunch to school because there's no way we're going to be eating that. So a lot of the older folks that you work with, is there a lot of clearing all this garbage off of them first, or do they come to you at all different levels? Like some go, I know I'm supposed to do something. I know. Yeah. How do they approach you typically? Or is it always different?
Usually word of mouth.
Okay.
Because I'm not really very good on advertising. I get word of mouth people. And they come because they're so and so has tried and tested. And then they come, the parents come and they come and meet first. Then they see if I'm the right fit, of course, because they're handing over their loved ones, right?
Yeah.
And then we meet the child, or sometimes the parent come with the child or the young adults.
Okay. So is it
Usually the
typically
parent comes.
there's a challenge or there's something that the medical world can't fix, or the medical world it's just not a fit? Why do they come to you though?
Food allergies, mainly they come
Okay.
for food allergies, because food allergies, as we just spoke briefly before about diet, diet has got everything to do with our first brain, which is in our gut. So food allergies is prime reason. Second thing is behavioral situation and misconduct of power and authority within the dynamic of the family.
Okay.
Yeah. So young adults usually come because they have discord between the parents and themselves. So as you just said about video games or pornography, usually they come for disconnect with their loved ones. And my job is to bridge them between the parents or the institution, wherever they are having and feeling discord. And it usually works out well. They have substance abuse or video game. Video game is their way of zoning out.
Yeah.
But they are always listening, right? They know what's happening in the background. They are, when any child gets into video game zone out, they are getting into theta brainwave. So when they get into theta brainwave, they are working at a different frequency. So that's home for them. And when they work that way, they are kind of being evasive about what they don't want to feel. And it's the same about substance abuse. The reason why they take up any kind of substance abuse is because they want to be evasive of what they don't want to feel. And that little phase, just like an alcoholic person, right? That little phase makes them feel disconnected. That is a relief for them that they don't have to face it. So it's the same situation, but they are extremely, even everybody in today's world is expecting things out of our young ones. Do this, don't do this, let's do this, go here, don't eat this, watch this, don't do this. At the school also, do this homework, this is how it's to be done, blah, blah, blah. That little precious life has nowhere to go. So then they start giving out negative behavior. Then they start giving out actions which are not acceptable by the family, and they call it, oh, he's not listening, she's not listening, and the disconnection, the discord starts. But if we can give a kind ear from the young age of the child growing up, and if the child feels heard and attended to, because the basic human nature is to be acknowledged. Imagine I come to you and you come to me, and we both meet each other and we don't acknowledge each other. We're not going to see each other again. So how can the child is not going to feel, how can he or she not feel disconnected or disrespectful? Rather than that, just unwanted. That's where the programs of the childhood starts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why my job is, when people come to me answering a question long, that when they come to me, that's what I find out where the discord is, and that's where I start bridging them.
Okay. And I also believe, tell me your thoughts on this, that the children, well, for so many reasons, I feel like that's why they're also being taken advantage of in crazy ways, because there is such light. There is such connection that is automatically there when they come into this earth. So it's so important on such a bigger scale right now, in terms of developing that, in terms of letting them see the truth of who they are. How can you tell us of, if this is okay to talk about, one of your best experiences with a client? I don't even know if you can divulge that, if that's private or.
Yes, it's private, but I can give you an example.
Okay.
Like, there was a family where the brother and sister, they both were completely disconnected from the parents.
Okay.
Now, of course, the mother loves the child.
Okay, can you give us an idea of how old they were?
He was 16 at that age, I think so. So he came and he said, I don't want to deal with them, and I want to leave the house. And that's what the tough situation was, because it was already out, one leg was out, 1 foot out of the door, kind of.
Right.
So to revert back and to connect them back, there was a lot of back and forth. Excuse me. And the mother was not very open because of her inner wound, because everything about our wounding is inner child wounding, right? So to work with her first, to work with her on her inner wound, inner child wound, and heal her first, took me a long time to keep the younger one in balance, because you cannot tell them to be on a pause till your mother is healing. However, you have to keep both of them engaged in such a way so that there is no disconnection, or the child does not just walk out. Eventually he did, once he finished his high school, and then he did. But now he's come back. The discord is gone. So it's a win-win for both, because the mother and the family is very well connected. It took almost 2+ years, but it reverted back. So the diligence was required, and their commitment to each other was also very essential, right?
Yes. Okay. You've met Tatum. I feel that she's so expansive.
Beautiful.
Oh,
no,
thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So when we moved to Ohio, so I'm not originally from here. I can't remember how it was. It's not like 4.5. I was drawn to my current mentor right now. And I remember taking Tatum as a young child and basically being, here's Tatum. How can you help her? And she looked at me and she goes, oh, she brought you here. What? There's nothing. And I had already been in all this spiritual stuff too. And there was a part of me going, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with me. And that wasn't what I was thinking, but it was so much. She was my greatest teacher. Like, I would not be to the level where I am, if you want to call it that, without her, because essentially she was a mirror of me. So I had to really, and it's funny that I'm doing this meditation mindful work, because essentially I would just have this little being in front of me who knew exactly what triggers to push on me. who would make me essentially be so meditative, so mindful with, this, I could work with you out here knocking on my door and all these other clients, but my child, that was to be mindful, to be calm with her. And I was able to do that. Yet it took work. It wasn't like, oh, we do one session, we're all done and we're finished. It was, and it's been, I still go to my mentor and still bring Tatum because, it's an ongoing process
Mm.
and it's just beautiful and lovely. Can Because your story about losing your memory is so, can we go into that for a second? Tell everybody what happened.
Uh, 2017 onwards, I started losing words here and there. The alarm was most of the time. While teaching, I would forget
Ooh.
keywords.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then if I'm addressing my son, I would forget my son's name
Ooh.
somewhere if I'm talking. So that was very alarming for me. And it continued till it went on till 2020. And in 2020, by 2020, I would say, it was all wiped off. And that gave me a panic attack. The only thing I remembered was, thank God, my son, how to drive and how to cook.
Okay, so explain that in detail. Like, would you wake up in the morning and just be kind of comatose, or
No,
could you
no,
function?
I could function, but on the limited scale, like as
Okay.
if you're frozen, but I could not read, let aside write or go deeper into my book, which I had started the year before. I
Okay.
could not read. It would be very taxing to read any human language. So my communication could not continue because I couldn't remember any vocabulary. So explaining what I want to say was, I was like a child who has a lot of ideas but does not know how to verbalize them. So that was very difficult.
Okay, so your mind worked okay, but just
Mhm.
getting it out,
Mm.
it
Mm.
wasn't happening.
Yeah, it was a completely rewiring, reset, I would call it.
Mm-hmm.
And because I did not know the reason at that time, I was under panic for almost a year and a half.
Jeez.
And then I found out, thank you. Then I found out that it was a spiritual reset. Most of the people who go through a spiritual reset, it's a
Mm-hmm.
rebirth, reset, and death, the whole cycle.
Oh, I had
Once,
one of those.
right,
Yep. So
right.
how did you figure that out? Did you figure it out? Did it come to you on your own, or was someone helping you?
No, nobody was helping me, but you start noticing, you hear it. Somebody says, oh, I lost my memory, but it was a reset. And somebody else says, I lost my memory, but it brought me spiritual awakening. So then you start putting two and two together.
Okay. So what happened next, I guess, is the best question. So you were at this point where luckily your son could really help with things because at that point it was just the two of you guys together, correct?
Oh, he was at the college, so I was all alone. And
Wait a
it
minute.
was, yeah, it was a tough call for me. And 2020, the shutdown, uh, they were sent back. He was an exchange student. He was in Italy at that
Oh
time,
my gosh.
and they were sent back. So he came back, and he was devastated, and I was going through a hard time, and I was like holding it for both of us together, and he was holding it. He made it happen. We are a good team. So it was fun
Oh
growing
my
up
gosh.
together.
Okay, so when he came back, like, did he know that you were having some challenges?
No, I wouldn't
No,
let
he.
him know.
So he got home, and there you. Not a
Yeah, he was
vegetable, but
going
just.
through. Yeah, kind of. He was not he could not understand for almost a year or so that why couldn't I talk the way how I used to be. And he kept saying for almost 2 years, I've lost my mom. I've lost my mom.
So how did you go to the grocery store? Did you just go and pick up things and not when you're
Yeah,
checking out? Just
yeah,
so
yeah.
so
No,
it,
because you have self checkout, right? That's how I used to self checkout all the time.
So
And
you
even
could,
if you go, like if somebody is scanning, you don't have to have communication
that's
or
true.
nothing.
Okay.
Right.
So you knew what was going on. You could take care of yourself, but you just couldn't communicate your
Mm,
needs.
mm,
So
mm.
it's almost like you were trapped
I
in your
was
body.
feeling
And it says,
trapped. Yeah. It was interesting because my son was going through his, because they were just thrown out of Florence, wherever they were in
mm-hmm,
Italy, and they were not given any explanation because of the shutdown in 2020 March, and they had to be out. And then, of course, everybody went through the same thing. No colleges were really teaching,
mm-hmm,
and they went through that entire cycle. And then again, when he went to the like subsequent year in September, go back to the college, and that time he didn't know what was going on. I would not tell him and burden him because it's not his burden. And I'm a single mom, Eden. So you don't
yeah,
want your child, and he's the only child. So I don't want him to be not paying attention to his life, you know. And he's the same. Like we are a good team. Yeah, we are a good team.
wow. All right. So being by yourself and working with this for a year and a half, is that correct? What the heck was that like?
Oh.
That's a great description. For those who are listening, there's just, just, yeah,
Yeah, it was not easy. It was
I,
not easy because it was confusion.
yeah.
It was tormenting, and it was very frustrating because people wouldn't understand you and you
Mm-mm.
cannot explain it, and they would call you crazy. Anyway, they call us Looney Tunes, don't they?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that anyway. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was not easy. That phase was not easy, Eden. But we are here, we are talking.
Yeah. So how did your speech gradually start coming back? How,
Yeah, how
okay.
it started was, I would say my earth angels helped me a lot.
Hmm.
How would I say is that you I start talking to trees and birds, and wherever you're not afraid of being judged or mocked about.
Hmm.
So would go to the beaches very often and play with the ocean, and that healed me a lot. And of course, the forests, because they always listen to us. The wise ones
Hmm.
are always there for us. And I still have, these are my best friends: earth, water, fire, air, ether. They are my best friends. They have brought me where I am today. And and when when you can explain now, after all these years, what really happened, people wouldn't believe it. And it's actually, then you wouldn't believe it's the first time I'm saying it out in public. So I'm grateful for you to give me this opportunity. I'm truly grateful.
Oh my gosh, that's so wonderful. Oh, yes. Okay. So when it started coming back and you started being able to form words like what you felt and hear could come out, how slowly did it happen? And knowing that you had nature was your friend, essentially, that nature really helped you get back into it. So what went on from there?
Uh, Slowly, I could connect our three master cells, right? Heart,
Hmm.
like brain, heart, and sacral.
Hmm.
These slowly, I could feel the connection between the three master cells that could bring me back to life. And then at that time, I was told that you got a rebirth. So I was shown my image as a 2-year-old little child who came in from New Earth. I have it in my journal. I have drawn pictures. I used to be able to do at that time because there was no other way I could explain. So I could make some sketches. And that kind of gave me a hope. And then I was fumbling through last 3 years, you can say, through so many questions. And that's when I found out so many details about me, like why was I such a strong introvert, whatever happened through birth, like when I was in mama's womb. Uh, Another fellow brother who explained me in 23 March that I was in the Betelgeuse Orion situation of being harvested for 20/2 cycle, that's 40 years. That's almost my entire life at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So then the puzzle started being placed together to join the entire situation, to recognize what was happening. That's resolved a lot of trauma,
Okay,
of
so go
confusion.
back to Orion and
Go
explain
ahead.
that a little bit.
Every okay, human trafficking and harvesting. It's a well-known situation for people who are awake, and
Yes.
like I would say it in a nutshell. I met a couple of more women who were in the same team with me, and they were on the next bed with me, and we had the similar situation and similar cycle, so we could communicate of whatever was happening. So that helped trauma bonding, sort of, right? And that helped to communicate with each other that, oh, so we are not completely Looney Tunes. We did experience what we are experiencing. So there have been times when you visually witness it, what was going on, and then the patterns of how you get close to your abuser and why do you trust your abuser. And the reason why you trust your abuser is because you get used to somebody being there. Even though there is an abuse, you're not left alone, kind of stuff. It's a very long story. We can talk about it at the end. But in a nutshell, when I found out about that entire pattern of how our life would be, and why do we act the way how we act or behave the way how we behave, that kind of gave a lot of peace in my heart. Because the answers, the questions of 45 years were answered. Like, what is going on with you? You are like in completely abyss of nothing, of knowingness, not knowing anything about it. And that those things started coming together, and I could understand. And that, I would say, my angels helped me a lot. And actually, angels helped me a lot. Earth angels helped a lot. Nature, of course, Mother Nature helped a lot. And that was where my esoteric and spiritual life got a very strong hold of my soul family, because most of my soul family has not been so far from earth, and it was difficult to explain because everybody wants proofs and everybody wants, in writing or pictures. They don't understand most of our lives because we live in a holographic society. Not everybody is aware about it. Most of our, like, even our face and our body, our table, a disc, every mass and volume is all hologram. So how do you prove things which were, out of physical mass situation kind of thing, for lack of a better word? And it was not easy, but well, yeah.
You are here. All right, we're going to go to the meditation in a moment, even though it feels like we've been talking for 5 minutes, but it's been longer than that. Okay, so you saying that you're here with me today, that you've been through this rebirth, and this is, let's say, one of the first that you've been putting your face out there again. And obviously, you're ready to put your face out there, that this rebirth has happened and given you these tools that you are ready to come back in a different way. What's that like?
4 years it took to come from rebirth to now. But I'm not going to turn around and go back to that. So it's a sigh of relief. It's
Yeah.
hopeful. And there is so much to share with the world, which I know, which I was hiding because of my fears and not being able to explain. And my angels will guide me. My God is guiding me, within me, around me, above me, beyond me. So I have nothing to be afraid of, because my peace is in my heart.
My my experience was 2 years, so I'm trying to imagine that being doubled. And when it took 2 years for me to quote unquote feel normal again, whatever that is. But imagining for 4, and especially what you went through. So we're so glad that you're here today, that you
Grateful.
say that again.
I'm very grateful.
Yes. Yeah. And that you went through that hardship. And I know there was fear initially, but you made it through, because it really takes, I would think, because a very strong person to go through what you went through. And a lot of times we, tell me if you agree with this, have to go through hardship like that to come out the other side and be like, I can pretty much handle anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I handled that. So yeah. Let's go.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for seeing me that way.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Yeah, I know I'll be thinking a lot about you when we finish up today, in terms of what you went through and how that had to be. Can we, I guess, move to the Just Be practice, because I know you had talked to
May
me
I
about
just say
doing the
one
medicine.
last thing?
Please.
I am not at all coming from victimhood. Because
that to me is obvious. But yes, please share that.
Thank you. I want people to know that I'm not the only one, and I'm grateful for those energies in physicality or in esoteric or in astral ways to help me to come this far. Because without them, and of course, my inner being, my heart, my soul, my God, within me and above me, I wouldn't have been where I am. So I'm not coming from victimhood. The reason I'm sharing it after so many years is because after being coaxed to explain, and I've been explained that unless you do not share it, others might feel being victimized also. Mm-hmm. So if we share our story, then they do not feel that alone. So they feel empowered to share their story. And it's a chain reaction. That's how awakening spreads. So not a victim, but on the way to be victorious.
Oh, nice. And I am riveted in terms of what you will share and what your clients will experience from you after you going through that reconnection and rebirth and downloading and everything that now you're sparked to know.
Thank you. But Eden, I had a full practice, sweetheart.
Yeah.
I had a full practice before this happened. So you are a single mom. I'm a single mom. You can just imagine. Mm-hmm. It's not easy to have no practice and then go through this, and then the child is. It was good trip. I'm happy.
I even want to. How financially did you do it? That too. Did you have savings that you could utilize, or?
Yeah, and there was a lot of facets to it. A lot of facets.
My gosh. Okay, now I'm so curious about the meditation that you're going to guide us in today. Shall we go there? Is there anything else you want to add?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, I'm ready whenever you are. Just Be practice.
I just want to close your eyes.
Okay.
Take a deep breath in. One more time. Take a deep breath in, drop into your heart. Visualize a 24-karat gold plasma ball right in the center core of your heart. The 24-karat gold plasma ball. Expand that light, going through your entire molecular vessel, your heart, your soul.
I'm going to interrupt you for a moment. Can you explain what that is, or what that might look like?
That is like a ball of light, which is a 24-karat gold plasma mash.
Okay.
Expand that through your heart, your soul, your skeletal system, your muscular system, your fascia. Your central nervous system, central circulatory system, central lymphatic system, Expand it through your mind, body, spirit, by both the hemispheres of your brains, all the ventricles of your heart, and both the sides of your sacrum. Kidneys, adrenals, all the 33 vertebrates, each and every atoms, molecules, each and every nucleus of each and every cellular system. Shine your entire molecular vessel and expand yourself. Your aura will permeate through your skin, your pores. Allow yourself to go outside your molecular vessel. Your chair or your bed or your couch, wherever you are sitting. Expand through your room, your home, your land, your cars, everything belonging inside. Seen and unseen, organic and inorganic, all the energies, charge them with your light. Harness your power. Harness your existence, your soul signature into your space. Expand as far as you would like to go through your town, your state, the country where you are. Give a command that my energy permeates through earth, water, fire, air, ether, auric, esoteric, etheric, and astral fields of mind. Seal your energy fields wherever you have expanded with celestial double diamond white light of Christ Kristalla for me and for God, for whoever wants to. In your heart, you say, I am safe. I am love. I am peace. And I am joyful of light. Now experience your presence and stay in this state. This is your true divine blueprint. Observe how powerful you are. When you're ready, you can open your eyes.
That was great. And I also want to tell folks who are listening or watching or whatever, if there's, this is what I do. If there's ever something in a meditation that I can't understand or can't conceptualize, I just give it up to my highest good to know that my highest good will know exactly what to do. So then I don't have to think about, well, there's this part or there's that. You can totally relax. And it's so neat too when you do that. You hop along to the meditation, whatever's being conveyed to you. It just works. It's so beautiful.
The key of any meditation or the key of any spiritual work is complete surrender to the higher self. So if you put your intellect brain aside for a while, that is our ego, then you can connect with your higher self, which is your heart space.
Yummy. And I liked as soon as you said to repeat to yourself that you are loved and you're safe, like my whole body. Anytime that happens, I just, I'm always relaxed. And then I reach another level of relaxation. So I'm like, oh, look at that. I just, let go right here in my stomach and my hips. And it's amazing. Hey, thank you so much for
Thank you.
Yeah, for coming here today, for telling us your miraculous story. And beautifully, now that you're on the other side of it, again, I'm so curious well, I know, but I'm also very curious at how you are going to be helping so many people. And I'm going to show my shirt. I wore this specifically for you today. Of course, I love Starseed, so I'm showing my Starseed shirt. All right, and I will have your website listed. Oh my gosh, what Starseed? Starseedsparenting.com. So Reshma Shah out of New Jersey. And again, we are Eastern time zone. So know that as well. Okay. Is there anything else that we need to know?
No, that's good enough.
Okay.
Starseedsparenting.com is good enough.
That's great. All right. Hang with me just for a second. So you and I can say goodbye together. But to everybody who's watching and listening, thank you again so much for joining. And as always,